you, this is the one you're going to go on. Economic development, jobs, economic growth, small businesses. That's to help develop and encourage growth of small businesses. Workforce, better jobs, economic development. Okay, so as a governing board, as a leadership of this great county, what is the goal here? That's just a topic. You can use it again. What do you want to do? What do you want to see happen at the end of your 4 years or whatever in economic development?
2,000 more jobs in Wayne County.
You want to be that specific?
That's what we want.
The WCDA, the Development Alliance, actually has adopted and have goals, Mr. Mayor knows, and those have recently been adopted, and those usually get forwarded over to the commissioners for review, for use, that type of thing, which includes in the 5 years 2,000 jobs. And so it's very specific as to marketing, that type of thing, and the board funds those things. So I don't know how much you want to incorporate.
It's steep the wage.
You want
$2,000, it's steep the wage.
Well, it has typically been the policy that you would be above the, and you'll have to help me with the term, Bill, but it's that cutoff. Like now, I think it's like $12 or $13 an hour. It should be above that. Now, have we had some that have been below that? Very few, but most have been above so far in the last 7 years. Yeah. That's been a big discussion about was the wage and benefits.
Do y'all have an economic development board?
We do.
Yes, we call it development
sits
alliance.
on that.
It's appointed by the commission.
And
No,
it's elected by.
it's a public-private partnership.
And we have Wayne and
Okay.
Ray, myself, sitting in that board.
But one of the things that, of course, manufacturing, as everybody knows, is what I specialize in. It's a little bit surprising to me, and this is just from my personal observation, that economic development is actually number, what, 5, 4 on our priority list, because economic development and jobs have a profound effect on all the other categories that we're talking about. But yet, it is not a priority, a number 1 priority.
What is it?
No, because it's number 4 on our list of
Yeah,
priorities.
well, what you had was the county budget was 1, county facilities and education tied, and health care and economic development tied. So it was in the top 3.
Right.
Because I could have switched it around and put this before
It's
healthcare.
surprising that economic development affects every other thing that we're doing in the county. Maybe we need to look at putting a little more emphasis
You do that.
on economic development.
In fact, when you get all of these written out in the strategic plan, if you're going to take these and flush them out, today's just one of many, and I know, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Because what you really need to do is to identify these areas, set your goal after you've heard from your department people.
Yeah, I thought we were prioritizing after we got through.
Exactly. And then go back, you know what yours are based on either your public or what you've heard, what you've learned, through the learning curve, and then go back and put your priorities after you've heard from all your department people and from Lee. And then you can set their priorities for your budget. This is just the first step, but it gets your mind rolling. It's what you need to learn. That's part of the education. It's what we don't know.
And I think you just hit it right on the head. You just said it's what we don't know. And that's in economic development in Wayne County. So many people don't know.
That's right.
Whenever we take funds, and it's their funds, and we put those over here to help this issue, it's a partnership, this company. And we've got such a stigma in the county because it's attaching itself to the state on unmanaged funds or funds that have been thrown away, and then especially on the federal level. And it comes down to the county level, and then we get this perception, the people do, is that we're treating it just like the national, these throwing money away. We don't. The people in Wayne County don't understand that when we partner, then we put it in order that they have to do certain things before they get a penny. They've got to meet the jobs that they promised. They've got to have the property tax from the equipment that they said they were going to put in that building. They've got to come up with all of that, do they not?
Yes.
Before we give them a penny. They don't do that on the federal level. It's been proven. They certainly don't have to be doing it on the state level. So I think we need to understand here at the very end of the day that we need to communicate more with Wayne County citizens, that we are good stewards of that money, and these people are coming to Wayne County for a reason, to work and to build their business. And that's the other part of it that I like to talk about in economic development, is what gets a person to come to WCDA and say, we want to come to Wayne County. Now, you just said that we went from a tier 2 to a tier 1?
It is still a tier 2, didn't change. We just confirmed it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're still a tier. So far, so good.
My heart started racing.
Okay.
Because
We're just getting you going after lunch.
But my concern is that how do we incorporate what the WCPA incorporates in our thinking as commissioners? How do we get people to come to Wayne County and work here and put a business here? Just how do we do that as a commission? Don't leave it all up to the WCPA. But when we sit in closed session and we've got businesses that are looking at it as what they are bringing, what we can do, we have to pull those strings to make it happen. And then when we pull the trigger out there, and I don't think the people of Wayne County really understand. That's not how we operate.
One of the presentations that will be brought up as part of this kind of moving forward, not to presume anything, but we're curious to see what kind of was come up with today. We know how to generate our departmental reports. Well, I told on the 7th of December, I sent an email to the department that said, prepare for reports, but we're going to get with the board and find out where we go. But one of the things we want to do with WCA is we're going to do the ED 101, but we want to bring in an Eastern Region person, a commerce person, to go through and kind of tell us. Some of you saw it in the retreat, but we want to get a little more specific for county commissioners as it relates to workforce development, those type of things, and have them come do a 101. Because but when we film those things, it'd be important to get it out so people can understand what does it mean, why you're investing.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that. I think Wayne County's done a poor job of explaining to the average citizen the value and benefits of investing local dollars for companies to come in, not giving them anything. And it's perception's reality. A lot of people perceive we're giving companies their tax dollars. We're collecting it from them and giving it to them, and we're not. I had this conversation last week where I explained it. And the way I explained it was, I looked at it from a standpoint of an investment. If you show me a plan where I can invest $10,000 and a company's bringing in their company, and from that $10,000 that we invested, we would receive the $10,000, the principal back within 3 years. And from that point on, would be residual dollars coming into our tax base, thereby reducing your tax burden because they came. Then they looked at it a little differently. So I think that it's perception, reality. I think we need to do a different way of presenting that, is my concern.
That was part in WCDA, part of the goals is to work on that this year from the website, but they want to do what we're calling kind of the external, internal customers, being county citizens and businesses. It's better with businesses. But in Wayne County, you don't get the people screaming at us when you hear about incentives of sort. Nobody likes that word, but that's the word. Citizens still don't quite get it. We've got to reduce that terminology down and get it out there. But that's part of what we said we've got to do with ED is to get that out there and help explain it. So I would say it was a poor job. I would say it can be improved.
Okay.
But it needs to be improved. I'm trying to
we haven't done a poor job.
Well, okay.
I think we can always rebuild retractable.
Let me give you an example. I've spoken to several groups of people about how the WCBA works, about the one NC funds that are available, the payback, even gave examples, past examples of what the payback has been, what the tax revenues is to the county. And there's some people, I look at it sort of like being a deacon of church. You're going to satisfy 5% of the people on this issue, because the very next day these same people have the same mindset. You don't change some people's minds. So I think the big issue, the big picture here in Wayne County, this is my personal opinion, being in business 33 years, and I'm on the Eastern Region Board now, and the WCDA, is that the policies that this county sets to attract industry is where the issue is. Because look at Texas, look at other states that have had 15, 20 or more % growth in 2012. The incentives that they offered on the state and local level attracted those industries here. It's a competitive bid when industry or business are looking to move into Wayne County. And so, to my opinion, that's what I see on the exterior. Is that I look at the old WCDA 30 years ago, when it was Industry 100. There was a certain area of this county, people that were here, employers, that really held down growth for their own benefit. We know that. That's happened. I don't want to see that. We need to open the floodgates and create jobs, because if we do, we have less problems with health care. We have less problems with the county facility. Everything that we have prioritized here, the burden gets lighter when we create jobs and get revenue in here. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding why, if jobs are the #1 priority for all of our citizens, that's the #1 issue of every voter across the nation, what can we do to get this process enhanced and make it happen sooner and better? That's my question.
Can I respond?
Yes, sir.
Because you hit the nail on the head, and that is, why would an industry come to Wayne County? Why would an industry come to Eastern North Carolina? Let me finish. I step on his toes as I go along here,
I'll tell
but
you why.
my point is this. Let's look at where the growth is. Let's look at where industry's going, and let's learn from what they're offering that we're not. And when I look at it, I am amazed if you would stop for a moment and see what all we have here in Eastern North Carolina. We got the rivers, we got the beaches, we got the seaports, we've got the railroads, we've got the highways, we've got a lot of things going for us, but for some reason we're kind of stagnant. We're not going anywhere. We're attracting an industry every now and then, we'll pluck one along, but we're competing with every other county. Because as we go out to try to get these people to come here, Grenora County and Wilson County and Johnson County are trying to do that as well.
Other states.
That's right, other states.
Other countries.
And I'm hoping that we as a board can recognize the importance of looking larger, that we can expand our horizon and reach out to our adjoining counties and bring a coalition together to say, let's go into this thing together to build a better Eastern North Carolina by developing our ports, by expanding our railroads and our roads and so forth. Because once you bring all of that, they'll come. They're saying, you've got the facilities for ports, you've got the highways, you've got the global transport, you have everything we're looking for, and all the developmental land that you'd possibly want with rivers and streams and all those things are there. We just don't have the infrastructure, folks. We have not got the investment in infrastructure. So I hope that we'll kind of broaden this out a bit.
Well, we have that coalition east of I-95, it's called the Eastern Region, 13 counties.
And we need to work harder.
Okay, here's what the problem is. Eastern Region or the WCDA can bring a bunch of companies possibly to Wayne County or any other county through the Eastern Region. But it's up to the county commissioners and the whole management team to create the incentives to be competitive to attract that industry. You can bring 50 industries for prospects in Wayne County, but if we got the highest tax rate there is of any county around us, if we don't pay for, give like $1 million, maybe just an example for water and sewer to be run, that's one of the reasons we lost Frigidaire years ago, was because we were not willing to give tax breaks or incentives to look past the end of our nose, look at the long range. And so look where these industries ended up being. So we got everything in place. It's a matter of what each county wants to do that has an opportunity and has their land available to match to that respective industry. What are we going to do to attract them? That's the bottom line.
And I think too, to add to that, is what we have already paid in workforce. What we have already paid in the STEM program. What we are paid, what we are invested in, but that doesn't come free. You've got a house training area. You've got to train the people. You've got to get good teachers. And then you've got under, I think it's what the county school system has got in, what is it, we've got STEM.
STEM,
STEM.
science, technology.
Right, the technology. It costs money.
Engineering and math.
Engineering and math.
It costs dollars to make those things available, and we have paid that, and we are doing that. So we're ready in that. So they're still not coming. And what I'm hearing is that we need to make it more friendly. We need to make the pie more, sweeter deal, if that's what you want to call it. But we're doing all we can. It's just that we're missing out on something. And I think it might be what you said, what the incentive word, and that alone, I think, needs to be carried into the citizens to say, you've got commissioners that don't throw the money away, that we understand what it takes to get them here, and we're going to do all we can to get them here. It's like education, the school system's doing all they can through STEM. Workforce development's doing all they can through the community college system and workforce. But there's something missing. There's just something. We've got even an economic development building. We've got 4 people hired. We've got a director. We've got a link in with the Eastern Region, who's now the legislative committee that's linked in to Rob with the General Assembly, because that's what that committee's for, is to link itself in with the lawmakers. It looks like we just need that one something. And all of a sudden we come up with that today.
I truly believe it's so forced. All the years I spent, I always HR directors that come from all over the country to come talk to me. Do you have this particular type of skill in the county? No, we don't. Ray goes to look at machines. How hard do you have to look to find one? A skilled machinist. That's right. And it's just impossible. Now, we pushed our kids away for so long. I think we're beginning to turn the corner back and let the kids know that there are good jobs in this community if you'll get the right training. Everybody doesn't get good before they're college. And I think that's the real key. Putting our efforts into our workforce. We're doing it in infrastructure. We pushed our workforce kind of to the side for a long time. And now we got to this. If we're going to we go back and hold it, we will have to do it.
How do we continue? What does it cost to keep on investing in that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
What's really killing us is South Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
They are eating our lunch.
But
We can't compete with them.
that's true. But one of the things I'm looking at is that, and we're just going to have to give a little bit of time. We're going to have more support from our governor and legislature for jobs east of I-95 than we've ever had before.
We better avail ourselves.
No, he has said that publicly and privately, that he wants to see growth east of I-95. He wants to see, since we're all military oriented, he wants to see manufacturing and other businesses move into this area where the military bases are. So I'm looking forward to not only doing more on the county level, but we're going to get more support from the state level. And when I say from the state level, all the way to the governor's office, we just got to give him time, a few weeks here to get on his feet, and let him be a part of this, and I think it'll move us all forward. So, that's what I say.
So what are we missing? You're saying we need to fund more workforce development. How do you fund more workforce development?
Keep your efforts like the works program that's going on. It's had a lot of success. We've got almost 12 12,000 CRCs in the county.
It was still the highest in the
Pretty
state.
close.
What's that?
And that's, you know, in my opinion, go around out there talking to these companies, they can say, well, we done this in Wayne County, really, the state. We have a competent workforce. It's those kind of things that they're looking for when they come in here. And a lot of the skills, you know, in the community college, unfortunately, a lot of the machines they have to try to train these kids on in community college are 1-2 machines. And I don't know how we can afford the cost of some of those machines, if we can partner with, you know, some of the larger businesses, perhaps we can do that. You know, they go out in the AAR or wherever they're gonna use a, you know, time machine, such, I don't know what to call it. They had to train at community college, they're working on an old machine, so they have to be retrained when they get on.
Yep.
It's- it's-
Community college says that.
It's
That's true.
Yeah, except on, in the computer machines, the computer remote control machines. Wayne Community College, in my experience, goes all the way back to Ed Wilson, is that we had the machines in that college, the same size machines that these students find when they go out in industry. At one time, we had tabletop CNC lathes, jewelers lathes. And when these people came into our business or AAR and saw these big machines, it scared them to death. So what we did is that we said, look, let's get some funding and get the same size machines, same type machines that these people are going to be operating and programming when they get out in the industry. So that's how that process. Now, the older machines that you're talking about are the old manual type machines, but they're monarchs. I'm familiar with those machines. They go back a long way, but the key is they work the same. They work the same as the new manual machines do today. So the biggest issue is that we do have modern, up-to-date equipment in our community college for machining purposes. We need to branch out and go to, make sure we go into HVAC, welders, bricklayers, and here's one of the problems I see. Bill, you're right. Exposure to high school students has been minimal. But you're not going to get people to go to Wayne Community and take a machinist course if the job's not there waiting for them when they get out. What's going to happen is we're going to train our workforce for the job, and they're going to go to Raleigh, wherever.
Maybe they'll come back on one day.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, you get me off on that, that's what my.
Well, I know you've got,
Yeah.
Chairman, this, we've set up the meeting with community college on February 8th, it's a Friday, I think 8th or 9th, and with the full board of trustees and full commissioners to talk about issues that they're having, but that would be a great time to look at them and say, Diane will be there, Diane Ivy and all these folks, and to talk about, you know, what are the other things that they see, you know, from industry, what are they asking for, so that'd be a good time to, you know, start getting into this subject, so we've got that in 2 weeks, I guess, a couple weeks.
Something else you all need to think about as a board, here I go, what kind of industry do you really want to attract?
Well, that's true.
I mean, you really, and those things you just mentioned, HVAC, and you're talking about bricklayers and welders, those industries are probably not coming to Wayne County. I mean, what industry even uses those now? Well, yeah, machinists, but you got a logo that says the good life grown here.
Welders, yes.
And you talking about small business development, that's a that's, I'll get on my, I mean, that's it, people.
Economic development is trying to identify large areas of land to bring in these big companies if in fact they're looking for a 200, 300 acre site. And is there infrastructure, gas, water, sewer, whatever, to bring in economic development? Does Wayne County have that capability? And who needs to focus on it? That Mount Olive municipality went and they put their own sewer in, and they've got their own sewer and water, so they're self-sufficient. They can go out 5, 8, 10 miles. Goldsboro does that.
Y'all have countywide water.
We do, but not sewer. And then you go to those areas that for economic development they're looking, we've got to meet, well, we won't go over Park East, but you know, we're looking at other areas.
So who would be responsible for making this information, for planning a long-range plan to make sure that any large acres of land or any industry, potential industry that would come in could be assured of gas, water, and sewage, or
If
whatever
you're
they need.
talking about, this is just my perspective, you're talking about for industry and for retail development, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Industry is going to be the Wayne Development Alliance, their product development where they're looking at product developing land and sites. But for retail development, I think it's slightly different. That really is going to be the individual municipality, like in the case of 70, is going to be Goldsboro, I think, at the behest of and encouragement of the county and folks out in that area. Because, you know, it's going to be demand driven because I don't see lines moving out there, so I assume it's going to be demand driven. But the problem that we run into is you've got different water systems, sewer systems, all different groups, which is fine, but it's getting everybody to work collectively. They've got a partner and on these larger projects as it pertains to capacity. Now, the county, like with the Park East, there were no prearranged, if you recall, Steve and John, there were no prearranged agreements long-term for sale of water between these entities until the commissioners did the Park East water tank for AAR, and they formed this long-term water purchase between Wayne Water Districts, and then followed in Goldsboro, and then they went to Ford. So it kind of, the partnerships, it then renders something greater. So it started, and so I think now they're beginning to work together, but how do you, as a county, we know there's a need out there, but how do we get the Goldsboros and the Mount Olives and the Pipers, Fremonts and Seven Springs and all those guys to understand where they should take it? I think sometimes you got to sit around a table.
Yeah, well, I think the start is that, you know, we, in the past 4 years that I've been a commissioner, I've only been to one utilities commission, what they call it, utilities commission. You know, we need to put that back in order quick. And we need to get all of these municipalities and our rural areas, our county, at the table and talk about the water system and talk about where the sewer is going to be, who's going to service. If we're looking at education, looking at building facilities, schools, you can't put schools in septic tanks.
If you do, the only thing I'd recommend on utilities, I think it's a great concept in theory, but we talked about the intergovernmental and bringing all the mayors and city council and commissioners together. You've talked about wanting to do that, and we're looking to schedule. I've talked to some of the managers about doing that. The other thing about utilities committee is you have to make sure when you put people around the table on utilities that you set decision makers around the table.
Okay.
Otherwise, it just goes.
Just like the elected people like you are, they're the ones that don't
You guys have to be there, the mayors, the council, because you want to be able to go back and say, okay, town council, the commissioners want X. If it's just the guy, no offense, but if it's just the manager or just the guy who made the sewage manager, it's got to be the elected officials. And, you know, because the constituents out there, the guys that own the big land, they're telling you what they want, so you got to take it. So that means they've got to be at the table too. So yes. I almost see instead of the utilities committee, that intergovernmental, where the mayors and the chair and board members are together. And you talk about all these issues.
Well, you know, just as far as economic development and what the CDA is looking for in site selection, you've got to have infrastructure.
Yes.
You've got to have the roads, you've got to have the oil, you've got to have the sewer, you've got to have now gas. If you've got restaurants, the restaurants are looking gas. You know, you could go down 70, down past the barbecue place there on the right. You got Highway 111. There's not gas running down there. That gas line stops right there. Yep. But you've got commercial development half a mile down on the left, and you've got room to develop. But hey, Sheriff, but you've got room to develop, but you've got no gas. So somebody might come down and say, that's a great spot next to that food line there, and I'd like to put this and this there. That would increase our sales tax receipts and increase property values. There's no gas. And they said, we need the gas. So we've got to look at infrastructure throughout the whole county, and we've got to collaborate with those.
Well, and in talking about some of that, I mean, folks, we got a real issue here in regards to this bypass. I mean, it's great that it got pushed up to coming in here on 2015, But when they open that up, I hope everybody recognizes that people are gonna get on it over there, almost at the Johnson County line, and they're gonna get off on it over there in Lenore County, and that's gonna bypass Wayne County. And there is a lot of sales tax receipts that's gonna go with those, with that road. They're not gonna start with Wayne County. And Steve, am I correct on 2 of those interchanges? Steve?
Wait a second. Y'all come in, you want to come in, George?
Come on,
Chair.
yeah. Only two of the interchanges have got water and sewer to them. And we, as county commissioners, we don't have any control over the sewer going out there.
All 4 got water now.
All 4 of them have water. But without the sewer, you're not gonna have the growth out there around those interchanges to bring back those sales tax revenues that we're gonna lose. So I think that we are going to have to form some type of a partnership with the city to emphasize how important it is to get that infrastructure out there. I mean, it's gotta happen. They're not gonna, these companies are gonna come into town, they're gonna say, well, if you hadn't got sewer, I can't even talk to you. It's
But
gonna
as
have to
you're
be.
talking about that, and as you're talking about when you attack some of the transportation issues too, also part of the issue of, for instance, Wayne Memorial. When we open Highway 70, it becomes, as Berkeley, one of the main front doors to this county. That road is gridlocked now. That is the main artery for our ambulances, and Wayne, they're not dealing for the sheriff, these folks get in, they can't get in and out. And I got gateway buses parked on a lane where we should have turnout lanes to load buses, not in the traffic, it's stopped up, and it's going to get 10 times worse. And it's not been addressed. And it's now 3 years away.
I know, but I mean.
But I'm with you. I'm just saying, it's gotta be attacked today.
It does, we gotta start right away,
Yes.
because we hardly have any time now, our back's up against the wall.
If you have time just to bid it out and build it.
Well, if we have to come together with some type of, short-term financing in order to get that done, and with a payback after the development takes place, I mean, I don't know how we're gonna have to structure it, but we've gotta get it done. We've gotta get that infrastructure out.
Well, what's important is that developers come and here's another incentive. So you're asking a municipality to partner with a county to offer an incentive that you're gonna run a sewer line out, which is $1 million a mile. And you're gonna front that, but you've got the other two, areas with sewer that the developers pay to get that line out there.
Well,
And you've got developers up here, and then you're saying, well, now we're gonna partner with a municipality, and we're gonna run it there for.
No.
I don't want it to be misunderstood that we're gonna pay
No,
to get sewer lines.
I don't care, I'm saying we may probably wanna bring the landowners into this, but I'm just saying we've gotta structure something to get it done.
Sure. Because when you got 2035 completion date on the highway, then move up to 2015, you don't have the infill. You go around Clayton on the south, from the old 70 to the bypass, you got the rooftops, and that's what the developers look for.
Yeah.
And you don't have that much of an effect because you got the infill. Moving it up from 35 to 15, you don't have the infill that was anticipated over a 20 or 30 year period. The rooftops aren't there, so as they do look at the interchanges, they're gonna look for the rooftops. And with the economy the way it is, you might run sewer out there, and you might have $2 million or $3 million in a sewer line with nobody around that interchange at all, but you got it ready. How many subdivisions do we have now that were ready in 06 and 07? The economy went south, and they're still out there with no houses on them. And you've got the power companies that put the power in, and you've got the investor that put all the roads and such. So, you've got to be careful, but it has moved up here to 2015, and you're right, you've got to do something, but to front funds.
Well, I'm just saying, we got to, somehow or another, we've got to make it happen. So we've got to find some formula whereby we get the sewer out there. We got the water out there, we got to get the sewer out there. And short of that, are we going to wait 30 years in order to have the building of those retail establishments at our interchanges? And are we going to, for 30 years, not have that? I mean,
That's up to the investor, that's up to the Walmarts and the filling station, the service stations, that's up to them. And they have to know that the numbers are there, the rooftops are there, the spending power, income, per capita income. They're looking at all of that, it's cash flow for them. So I'm saying the infield from the new side of the bypass to the old side, there's all land. Now you got to think of agriculture, which we're going to get in a minute. So then you're looking at losing ag land. So, what land are you going to lose, even around the interchanges? But then if it's only all agriculture, you have very few businesses that just depend on traffic, on transit business, very few businesses. But you're looking for residential, transit, and you're looking for commercial, the shoppers, the women that shop. That's what you're looking at. They look at all of that. And that's why it hasn't bothered Johnston County as much, because they had all of that already when they put the road around. We don't have that going on around Gulch.
well, I know, but those are the cards that we're dealt, so we're gonna have to find the best way to play them.
Yeah.
So of all the things listed here, what do you gonna key in on? Because we're gonna ask you, the next question, we're gonna have to come back to this. Do you even know where they are all over the county? Is there one consolidated county map that tells you where you've got water, sewage, infrastructure with all the municipalities and everybody? I'm just asking.
We have all the water and sewer except, I could be mistaken, but I think we've got it all. And there are quite, and I will just say in this meeting, and I apologize if I'm saying something I'm not supposed to, but because of certain the statement they've made in the Utilities Committee, Marcia, is that there are security issues as it relates to the federal government, Department of Defense, that they cannot give locations of water and sewer because of the base. And if that's the case, okay, and they said there is something there, if that's the case, get it, understand it. But we've said you could really segment it and go out in those areas and help us. I don't know that I really have to have it on the computer, but it's nice. But I think the rest of the county pretty much have it now.
I know the water is.
Yeah. And I think most of the sewer that's out there, that extends out, we have. But that has been something for them, and that's something they'll have to do with it. I'm sure they have some agreement with the Department of Defense, and that's way over my pay grade.
So who is responsible for this, Steve?
Which one?
To identify those large areas of land for economic development, whether it's
WCDA, Wayne County Development Alliance.
Got it. And then who's going to be responsible if you really want to do this and make things happen, as Lee said, or as one of you said, you got to be with the table with the other elected leaders. Y'all are the only ones that can do it. People that go with department heads can't make it happen.
That's under land use planning from the city and land use planning on the county. They'll have to partner with land use plans because of zoning and just being in compliance with current rules.
So really what you want to do is for them to do that and make sure that you all are aware of it. Is that right?
We do that with the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO, and the RPO. Everything outside the MPO would be the rural planning part. So everyone has to work in concert with a collaborative effort to make these things happen, which has been happening. All this has been on the radar for about 5 years. It's not nothing new.
Anything else we need to just list Larry's notes for us on infrastructure?
But infrastructures are something besides what we've talked about, this infrastructure. Have we covered all infrastructure?
Well, the only thing is, I don't like to get the weeds too much, but, you have boards in the past, and you have stated things, not just the gas, the water, the sewer, but also high-speed broadband, because as companies locate, they need those kinds of things. Does that mean we go up on towers and do this high-speed broadband wireless? Because we've got a system with towers that you could do that in these rural areas. Do you do that? I don't know, but so you just throw this infrastructure is also the internet, high-speed broadband, and fiber.
Yes.
Now, you cannot get the location of the fiber because it's proprietary, and they will not give that to you. You give them a dot on the map, and they'll say yes or no. Same with natural gas.
I have a little girl that I know personally, and this is really, that's a common, I'm sorry, we didn't bring this to the table. She works with Duke Hospital, her job is to code. She wanted to move out in the country. She can't get high speed, and HughesNet's not fast enough, so the child's got to stay where she is. She can't even leave Raleigh because none of this is available. So that's awesome. Doesn't Ring County have some wireless broadband?
They've done,
They
Wilson
do.
did some grants. We applied, we were just, our median household income did not the south, we were just above it, so we weren't, it wasn't available.
All right, so we have had a wireless and internet broadband. Excellent. Anything else? Let's do it. All right, last one's agriculture, and that had 4, and then citizen participation in parks and recs, or quality of life, that too. So you want to deal with that?
Number one commodity in Wayne County.
Pardon?
It's the number one commodity in Wayne County.
Okay. What y'all lying about? Yeah, bioenergy, promote a bioenergy regional ag center for research and protecting agriculture. And Steve even alluded to that earlier when he said those big tracts of land on those interchanges. Oh, this will happen when it took in, you know,
Well, the road took a lot, just the road easement, to build the road.
about 495,
And
whatever it
Highway
was.
70.
70.
The-
Well, 795 did also.
And 70.
Yeah, that's the one I
Yeah.
remember.
So, what's the pleasure on ag?
What's your goal? Promote, maintain, keep that one for you?
Yeah, to preserve farmland. That's the goal.
We've protected areas with voluntary ag districts. Keep that in place and encourage that. And here again, it's going regional, as Joe mentioned a few minutes ago, is that if we think outside of Wayne County because of the demographics of eastern North Carolina, then Wayne County is positioned well, just far enough away from Johnston and Wake, which is the metric. We're far enough away to still be close enough, but we're far enough away to continue to farm and continue to look after our birds, our poultry, and our swine, and yet that in junction with Sampson, Jones, Lenore, we're in the right place geographically. And I would hope that in research, it's possible that we can use some of the state properties to be transferred over, or how we're partnered, whatever you want to call it, to have some type of research. We have a research farm, but something of brick and mortar where we can, like a regional center, where they call it an ag center, a science center, or ag science center, and to make Wayne County have a place where it's a destination where you can get the other counties in the region to come in and out and use the facility, which would profile agriculture in a bigger way than what it is.
Y'all have enhanced VADs or just regular voluntary ag districts?
The planning board's been talking about that next level of ag districts, the enhanced piece.
Yes.
They've been talking about that. I don't think that's been firm, but they're talking about going to that next level. Yeah. One thing too on that, I would, if you would, with Seymour Johnson Air Force Base and the airports, the county and the city has secured property in those accident potential zones, but also with clean water money have purchased land around Seymour Johnson and protection of the general public warden, but protecting the farmland because it's in perpetuity is going to be farmed. So it was a way to preserve it. And there's farmland preservation, monies are funded. There are abilities to do that, particularly north and south and around the base. There's opportunity there too. So you can use that as a way to allow those farmers to keep going.
Yeah.
Farmer doesn't mind that jet too much.
Okay.
He doesn't hear him in that nice tractor with the iPod in here.
Right.
That's right.
The other thing that the county is doing also is to preserve farmland is to, whenever we are looking at having buildings like for industry and so forth, or for county offices, we're looking at existing older structures that are already here. So we don't have to go outside of the city or whatever and take up more farmland to build. So we're looking at existing empty structures
Infill and reuse.
in this county, yeah.
Infill and reuse.
Yeah, and with that said, you have a new Cherry Hospital, and you have the cess farm, and you have the research mentality already out there with the farm. You have some old state structures. Well, the hospital in Raleigh, the state just gave that hospital the property. It was Dick's. Dorothy Dick's. Well, that can happen here, because once those buildings become empty with the new hospital, you know, the agriculture, our ag commissioners with resolutions and all could petition our House members. And we've got Jimmy Dixon, who is now the chair of the House side of agriculture. And you've got John Bell, Representative Bell, who is the vice chair of agriculture, and Steve Troxler, agriculture. And it's lined up for us to petition and take these state properties and let's turn them into an ag center or research, not research triangle, but research Wayne County or the region or Eastern Research. Something to utilize agriculture in these buildings.
She'll use these so you'll have a copy of everything. I think here's where kind of rubber meets the road, as we talked earlier. You've basically gotten number one taken care of. You've really listed your opportunities, your needs that exist. Second question is, what are we doing to address these needs? And you've already alluded to that several times. You need more information, not just being trained on the budget. If you want to hear from people, bring them to the table. You are the leadership of this county. So they're going to come to the table when you tell them to come. There's no doubt about it. And you're going to be able to influence and do what you need to do that. That's what the business of the organization is. I mentioned this to Stephen. I'm sorry, I keep calling him Steve instead of Mr. Kent. Y'all got kind of formal this morning. But I have noticed you've lightened up this afternoon. You all be calling people by their first names. So, what's the next step? What do you want to do now that you got these things listed? It's obvious you need more information. You really need number two kind of taken care of before you can move around to what you're going to fund and where your strengths, your priorities truly are. You need to hear from everybody on these topical areas or these categories. So how do you want to proceed? How do you want to tell Lee to get this together for you?
The business part of the organization, in my mind, is to utilize our TV, our channel team, to do all we can with that TV station to show and tell. It's just show and tell. The more we show what we do on TV, the more people are going to see and the more opportunities we will have to address like issues like Mr. Mayo has in filling committees of a lot of things we've discussed today. All these committees that we appoint as commissioners, we have a lot of committees that are around agriculture. We have a lot of committees that have a lot to do with health care. We have a lot of committees that have to do with transportation. And we don't have people signing up. We don't have people getting on the computer and saying, hey, I want to serve, I want to serve. So we need to do a better job with our TV station. And I think with that, with Barbara and Wayne now at the helm, we have the ability to make our business the people's business, which is their business, because that's why we're here. So, you know, I think that's the first thing we need to do, is make sure we utilize what we have and to make it better, to get people involved.
All right. Let me ask you this.
Then
You tell me what y'all want to do, Stu. If you wanted to learn more about, let's use healthcare for instance. Let's say as a new commissioner or an old commissioner, it doesn't matter who you are, and you say, okay, we've addressed these things, we've got some questions about healthcare. Who would you want at the table? Who you want to come sit down and talk to you about healthcare? In this
The
county?
health director.
Health director?
Oh, the president of the hospital.
Hospital. Who else? Who else got anything to do with healthcare?
DSS.
DSS.
Is that director?
Watch.
The watch people.
Wish.
Oh, wish. Oh, hospital. Yes, I do.
I want a House member, and I want a senator. And just so happens our senator is chair of the DHHS on the Senate side. And there's health right there.
And it has let me start again. Any of those people, aside just from being department heads, which you're gonna come in and do your little thing, which is what we suggested to start with, has it ever been a point in time that you brought all those people just around a topical area and had them in the same way?
You know what I mean?
No.
All right, let me
They
ask.
meet, but not with the commissioners. They do, that group does meet, without the House members, that group does meet, but not with this board.
We have representation on those boards as a
Yes.
commission.
Yeah.
Those boards.
But just going a little further on that, imagine all those folks are at the table, and then we hear from the health department that they're having a problem in regards to the state requirements that requires them to provide this service no matter what, not ask certain questions, and not pursue the collection of any fees. And you got a senator and a House member sitting here and saying, we need those changed. You know, in other words, you can get some immediate input and they can hear it firsthand. And I don't think they're hearing that. So I think it'd be a great thing to have them.
Decision makers at the table.
Yeah.
And there are different times you can do that. They're in session for 5 or 6 months, you can't get them out of there because they're entrenched in work. But there are times of the year that you can get everybody at the table.
But you are gonna do better. You're gonna do better carrying that message forward than the department head.
Yeah, but it'd be so good to have a senator and a House member actually hear it directly from them.
I agree, but you're gonna have more influence. A lot.
Well, after they hear it, then we'll start doing it.
Yeah, So I guess what I'm asking, I guess I'm trying to push this forward, and I really don't mean to, because I'll stay here until you run me off. I'm not trying to finish up early or anything. How do you want to really find out, you got knowledge about certain stuff, how do you want to make sure that number 2 is answered, that you truly do know presently what you are doing as a county to address these broad issues that we've identified? How do you want to proceed so that you're all hearing the same message and you're all on the same page before you get to the final thing of making decisions, what you want to do as a board, what you want to change, where you want to set your priorities? How do you want to go about doing it? That's going to be critical.
Could we, as just a suggestion to the board, could we, in advance of calling, Mr. Chairman, meeting with any or all these groups or however these combinations occur, could we send these questions to the Sissy Lee Elmores and the Dr. Gaithers and the Bill Claus in advance of those meetings, or WCDA or Terry Jordan or whatever the groups are going to be, in advance of me, so when you do sit down, that they already kind of know what to do, so that day, Mr. Mayor, you can just kind of start gelling it together. And I send it to our departments and say, okay, you know, Mr. Madden, now how do you, Debbie Jones, Lee, Pam Holt, how do we fund it? How are we that way? You've already got it. You're ready to work when you walk in the room.
Well, I think that's a good idea to a point.
Okay.
Because to the point, is that you've not been sensitive to the people who actually pull the triggers.
Correct.
Because you superseded it with information.
So how do you do that so they're prepared?
Well, they are prepared because it's their profession. We're the ones not prepared. We're late. We're just in it for 4 years or whatever. We got other jobs to do other things. We're just volunteers. These people are professional at what they do. So if you walk into a room, they better know what they're talking about. But we've done our study too, because we're the ones that's putting this together. Now, as policymakers, the way I understand it is that you're the county manager and we give it to you to do. Now, you handle it to get the information to them. But when the communication has to be between the county manager and specific commissioners that have their jobs. DSS, he goes to every meeting. Hospital, go to every meeting. John on East Point and was it?
Council on Aging?
Yeah, the senior center.
Yep.
Anytime they need anything, it looks like to me, you know, these commissioners and it's Ed on the library board. So we've got the information, Lee. It's just how to coordinate it where it's almost like you have to talk about it, but you don't talk about it because the information gets bent, and then all of a sudden you've got a war in your hands, and people have called all of those members, and those members do nothing in that meeting other than their energy is putting out the fires instead of building, because they're trying to fix what everybody else has perceived this is going to happen or not going to happen. And then your energy level in that meeting out of an hour, you might have spent 15 minutes actually being creative because you spent 45 minutes trying to put out a fire that was never made in the first place. So I understand what you're saying.
So how do you do
I think.
Ed's a teacher, he's a good organizer.
Well, I think it helped me. Now, and mine is obviously a little fresher than some of you. That packet of information I took home the other day, I've been reading.
that
through
you
it.
should have
So
already read?
I darn near got to read.
Okay.
So I'll bring it back. Want my grade now. But in addition to that information, and y'all know what you just said, I've been reading through there, and some of these I've read, you know, the Business Alliance and something about watch. Couldn't take it. That's all today. But the point is, if Mr. Smith's office put together a good section of Q&A things, question and answer, just like you're talking about, in addition to the information that I have already, if you look through those packets and say, just in a brainstorming way, ask those department heads, what could they share that's not in there? Something that we might want to know. Those are creative people. They'll sit there and think, oh, I didn't remember to tell them this. And so the Q&A things, and that's where I learned off of the computer sometimes, find something to do with Q&A, and I'll read the Q&A, what people thought about, and then I'll know more about the other things. So Q&As along with all those areas of it, because serving on the library board is not going to give me an opportunity to know a lot about the Business Alliance. I mean, I'm going to need to know that. I want to know as much as I want to know as much of it as I want to know about it, but I'm not going to worry about going to the library board. I want to be able to access all that information and know about all those categories, although they won't be my first line of being on the committee. I want to know them. So in addition to what I've read, I think the Q&A thing would help. But I would love to see all those people, just for my visual growth, to see them all sit in this room so that I could begin to draw relationships with what they do and maybe how they're connected to something else. And I think that would be able to help, to see them all together in this room. I've been seeing this sheriff for years and years and years, so it's easy for me to know who he is. But I can't tell you that I can just automatically identify all the other folk that run the government agencies around Wayne County. I couldn't do it. So, see them.
And you need that as a commission.
Yeah.
If I'm gathering, Steve, what you were saying here is that you would, if we want to have a meeting like that, you don't want the outcome predetermined.
Yes.
Is that basically?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's speculative, people speculating can just really take the energy of creating something and making something better.
How do we reduce the speculations prior to?
You want some dialogue and real heart to heart.
Yeah, we do.
Rather than coming here and just giving a presentation, you know, I don't need somebody just come give me a presentation. I need somebody here that's going to help us pull the wagon,
That's right.
you know. Show us how you can change, maybe make a few changes or tweaks or whatever that will improve Wayne County. Not predetermined. And I don't know any other way to do it than have basically a face-to-face meeting.
That's easy. We can do that, and
And
I'm hearing it categorically, you know, like the healthcare, bring that group that we talked about.
That's what
Economic development, you know, can you tell me who you want at that table?
Yeah, and here again, it's getting people involved. It's just taking that subject matter and massaging it with people that have their heart in that subject matter. And you invite the paper, we film it, it's a committee meeting, it's an open meeting, it's transparency about that subject matter. And I don't see anything wrong with that. But, you know, you might not want that.
Well, I think as an example today, coming here with no expectations, had no agenda.
There you go.
We just came here and just talked about what we wanted to talk about. I think that was, I mean, this has been one of the most impressive meetings that I've had in a long time. And I think we gained a lot from it. All thanks to you. But I just think that we do need to bring some department heads in on that.
Okay, let me make sure that we've got Mr. Two covered. If we're gonna go a step further as to what Wayne County is doing at present to meet these broad categories that you've identified, then are you saying, I don't want to leave without being sure how Lee understands, are you saying that you want a time to discuss health care and bring all of those people together under one roof with you to talk about the major issues they have with health care? Or it might be the issues, or it might be some of the questions y'all ask Gary. What clientele are you really serving? How much money do you really pay? How much is state and federal, local dollars? But I do think you're going to have to give some guidance, Steve, as to what you want them to do. But you're right, if you don't want a presentation, tell them to put it in writing and send it to you first, and then just come to the table and talk about the other. Is that what you want? You want to bring all the health care, anybody in the county that would deal with health care issues with you by categories? I guess that's what I'm asking, Bill. Is that what you want?
But not only talking about the issues, but also some possible solutions.
Yes, and futuristic envisions and other things to help you all develop a plan to go further.
Have a pool
They're
wagon.
gonna cross.
They're gonna cross.
Yeah, you're gonna.
But you don't need somebody from ag.
No, not in healthcare.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because I mean, you can't have 50 in the room every day.
Nah,
You have to have select. Yeah.
Same thing with county facilities, you all will know who you want in there. The Lee will. Budget, you know, the finance officer, and I don't know who else y'all want. Economic development, got a list there, I'm sure we'll bring to the table with you. Infrastructure,
Yeah, that's gonna be municipalities, water districts.
that's gonna be a big one for
It's a
y'all.
big group.
It's gonna be a big one. Education, y'all already got that one down pat, because aren't you meeting, well, you meet with the Board of Education, you know.
And you're, where you're meeting with the
Community college?
trustees in 3 weeks,
Okay.
the trustees, so you got those set up, or the setting.
Then agriculture, you can get those together.
Well, they have lunch with Farm Bureau next week.
Yep.
That's kind of a nice little kickoff.
NRCS, you people research farm, you can bring
But
those.
this is agriculture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we could go to the next one after we do the Farm Bureau thing, that might be a little kickoff, but we could bring that group together, the CES folks.
Well, I think the emphasis here on agriculture, as far as the meeting, is to get, for example, Jones and Sampson. Larry Bell, perfect example in Sampson County. He's contiguous right to us. He's going to be a strong advocate for agriculture because of Sampson County.
Yes, he is.
He's got to be at the table. Jimmy Dixon on agriculture. Those guys in Raleigh have got to be at the table. So I think you invite the public, you invite the people and the paper and have it filmed. But these having people at the table, you don't get a second chance to make that first impression. So I think, but now they're in session, so I don't know how we're gonna schedule it. And you want the director that says farms, used to be
Pitts
Pitts or
are,
Eddie
used to
Pitts.
be, and having to, I apologize on it.
So he needs to be at the table.
NC State, I mean, so, and I think we know who all the players are, along with, and I'm hearing, along with our legislators, and we'll just have to try to work as best we can, but we need them, we want to do this ASAP. We don't want to delay, we want to get these things set up. Start working this afternoon, get them set up.
Well, okay, but that's,
Is that right?
I'm trying to work it into the budget some way by June.
That's what I'm saying,
We
over the
need funds
next,
for
I'm
it.
saying over the next month, we're getting these people in over the next, the month or two, getting them all in.
Just give them, we need to give them enough time though they can prepare, or kind of have to give them an idea of what we want.
Well, I would agree with the chairman on this, like the departments, they're ready, our county departments are ready, and I would just about say that a Wayne Memorial Hospital is ready, because I believe they are professionals, and I said, a week or two notice, they're ready. They're ready to sit there. They know what their issues are. You're not looking for dog and pony.
No.
You're looking for true discussion, true conversation.
Yeah, okay, if we're heavy crops, we've got an agriculture extension agent. Last year, we funded, helped fund, how much, Lee?
Say, I'm sorry, I was reading.
We helped fund the assistant to the agriculture extension agent.
Yes.
Last year.
Yes.
They do 70-75% on the state level.
Yeah, we
had
pick
come
up
with
20, about 26%.
that individual, I understand, that's vacant, that position.
Just left and they've re-advertised,
Okay.
or advertised. Yes.
Well, if we need funding there, then we need to advocate funding on the state level through ag. And any funding to pull out things, there was a bill introduced 3 years ago, it didn't get any further than the Senate. It got to the Senate, died, it didn't get to the House. But there was a county, there was a bill written for an agriculture, a regional center. That was about 3 years ago. We can ask our representatives, 4 or 5 of them, to sponsor a bill for an ag center. They do that all the time. We need to do that. It might not go anywhere, but it'll get us on the radar.
You can always ask.
Yeah.
So can I send to you, based on these categories, may I send to the board a list of who we think the team players are to be at these tables on these categories? And you guys go, yes, don't think so, or by the way, you missed these 3.
That's what you do.
And we do that next week, and I'll send them to you. And we can have that done by next week. And then we'll start talking times and all the specifics. It'd be great.
Then after you get that done, you all need to come back together. I think then you will have, knowledge is powerful. You'll have a lot more knowledge to maybe even reprioritize some of this and be a little more specific. We really kind of talked in generalities today. But you can't be very specific until you got enough information to make sure, but you got to get the topic on the table first, and that's really what you've done. And then when you get that specific and you write out those objectives of exactly what you want to see done, then you need to make sure that people are held accountable to do it. Name them in that strategic plan. Who do you expect to hold accountable to get it done, or else it's not going to be done?
Well, WCDA is a joint partnership, and I know that commissioners now understand WCDA. But WCDA, the Wayne County Development Alliance, also has a partnership with a group of investors that have invested almost $400,000 in what they call Impact One. Those investors need to be brought in to let them know that we as a commission are doing something in economic development. And these are private, these are companies, and they've invested in it, but they're listening to the board of directors, the executive board of WCDA. But we need to have in the same room with all the commissioners, and who they are, and they see us, and we see them, and we understand who they are, and let them know that we're going to advocate for economic development here in Wayne County and offer some jobs. So get them to the table too.
Yeah, please don't come in. Yeah, and I think we've got on the investors, we've got some meetings that we could probably tweak that a little bit. So I'll talk to WCDA about tweaking that a little toward the board or a portion of that, I mean, I think there's a way to do it, and we'll see if that works. That's coming up pretty quick. That'd be great.
What else? We can't get to number 3 yet. We gotta go through some others before we can go back. And I know it's too late today to write a mission statement, and it's sure too late to
Is it 3:30?
go through the values.
We're stopping at 3:30.
If we want to start on a mission statement, then we can do it.
Let's stop at 3:30.
Okay. All right.
We have to be in Mount Olive at 5.
You ought to make it by the end. It's just right around the corner.
Okay, the last question is, what principles, Reed, anything you need to share? I didn't mean to jump right on. Did they, all of them understand your budget process anyway, don't they?
Well, I think generally, but we're gonna be talking, I think, yes, sir.
I think you ought to explain that.
For the budget, well, I mean, for the general public, for that, it's gonna run on TV. I mean, the budget process, and obviously, it's pretty straightforward. You know, beginning over the next 30 days, we will do our summaries and we will do our estimates for year end. And with departments, we will send out a letter to fire departments, outside agencies, county departments, and ask for their budget recommendations. It comes to a committee made up of the budget team, myself as county manager, finance officer, and I had 3 or 4 others that sit in those committees. We review all those applications, and we base it on zero-based principle. We do not, in other words, you have to justify every position, every expenditure. You can't come in and say, the sheriff knows, you can't come in and say, just because I had X deputies last year, mean I get this many deputies this year. You have to say, why do you need what you have? So they do that, and they walk in with that because we question, that committee questions that. And then in the May time, so we will then kind of congeal everything by April, by May, we kind of have a, we'll have some working documents for the board, and then by law, board, and I'm oversimplifying, but I am required by law on June 1st to present my draft budget, recommended budget, to the Board of Commissioners. Sometimes you ever get that faster, but it depends on when the state gets their information to you on estimates. So it depends on how long our folks step in Raleigh. But one of the big heavy thinkers is feds, because you don't know what Congress is going to do. So you walk up there a little blind. So we stall some of the budget until about October. We're telling them, hold off on like bringing these positions in until we know what the revenues are going to be. We hold off. That way, because we don't have to rift people, so we try to hold off on that. So, and then you have something adopted by the end of June. It's pretty, I mean, I'm oversimplifying, pretty straightforward, but I want to make sure that we have, like when you go through all these line items, I've heard what you said today, to try and simplify where you find things. But what I would like to have as we walk through the budget process over the next few months is for Ms. Holt and I, we were already working on it's going to be in the second week of February, her quarterly report, kind of the layman's term, trends, and those kinds of things. But I would like to know, from your standpoint, if there are areas of the budget that you're most concerned about. And I hear some of it today, but there may be other things you've not talked about. You say, well, this program at Parker Extension I said that for Wanda's benefit. I don't get it. Well, that way I'll know to say, okay, well, we'll come in that day and have them present 5 minutes on it, because we've got several meetings between now and the budget. So we could bring people in and do a 5 or 10 minute, update on that area, and you go, oh, so when you talk about the 4-H program, the after school program, so Lee, that's a lot of money. Down from the county, it's all done by fees. One of the best in the state. You go, oh, well, cool, and it's self-supporting. You say, well, wow, look at it in the budget, you think, well, wow, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars from county money for people to go to after school care. Totally supported by fees. So there are things like that you would not know. But I need to know that what are you looking for as far as questions, shoot those at us, and that way we can, or email them to you. Just send them to us, and that way we can include it and know what kind of questions we need to answer. Because I'm going to go forward assuming, like today, in discussions with the chairman, we started off at 0. We'll assume everybody knows 0, and let's build and assume nothing. So my pledge to you is I will assume nothing. That I will communicate with you and make a pledge to you that if you ask me questions, I'll ask you questions. So nobody's surprised. And that will make the process really, really, I think, smooth.
And I'd like to add to that too, Lee, is to make sure when those communications are, that you share them with every commissioner at the same time.
And I'm glad you said that.
I don't have an issue receiving something from you because I know it's of importance. But when I receive it, and I don't see the other commissioners on it, my pledge to this board, that I would treat them as they would, I'm sure I would want to be treated.
I'm really here as just a citizen of Wayne County. I'm a grandmother now, actually, and with grandchildren and children. Very interested in the future of Wayne County, attracting business here, of course, quality health care and economic development. I have a great interest in greenways and developing not only the road structure here, which has gotten a lot of attention over the last 10 years, but also the pedestrian and the biking. And to make this a place where children are outside the way I'm sure each of you all were when you grew up. You grew up outside, playing outside. We need to make that kind of environment here. We are blessed to live in a place that is rural. We have a lot of open area. And so my plea is you look at the budget, as you look at setting priorities, that you would consider all the outside that we have and making the most of that in allocating precious dollars, which I know you all take seriously. So this is Carol Sessions. She's also a part of, we have a group called the Friends of Wayne County Greenways, and we invite you all to become a part of that. We're just volunteer citizens trying to organize to help get this off the ground. So I'm speaking on behalf of that group, and I appreciate your time. I know you all been here a long time. This might not be what you want to hear at the end of the session, but I have never come to a meeting like this. I got to tell you, it's my first time. So when we came in, we thought there was a visitors gallery or something. And we didn't see one, so we weren't quite sure what to do. And you know, I think we had a meeting Monday night at the college for the community health benefits assessment. It was a presentation to the public. A disappointing turnout, to tell you the truth, but probably 4 dozen people there, maybe 3 to 4 dozen. And we had invited the public, and so when I saw the public was invited here, I thought, man, I was disappointed, I guess, that we didn't have more people coming to that meeting, because there was so much good information, as you all shared here. This is interesting to watch your deliberations. So we appreciate your time, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak. If you want to say that specifically.
Well, I'm here to support the Greenways. I've been a dietitian actually in Wayne County for 30 years, and so I've seen a lot of, you know, what our public needs. And also, personally, you know, I enjoy biking, and I think it would be a great asset to Wayne County, and to, you know, invest in this, because that would be investing in the future.
Yeah, I just want to speak to her. She's my diabetes instructor, eating right.
That's right.
Years ago.
I probably instructed half the county.
Well, he remembered, because today he said, look at that fat stuff on that table, so he did remember.
And actually, I do have a small token of appreciation here. This is for your coat.
I saw the
You've seen this, and you would wear it proudly. People might ask.